I'd like to use this design to provide some tips from those of you who are garden designers, but who are embarking on computer-aided design for the first time using gCADPlus. The first thing to master is that what you're aiming to do is to provide a model of what the site looks like in using units that mean something to you. So let's imagine that you've been to this site and measured it and probably done some sort of sketch map or whatever. Some people call it a mud map. Very early on in your learning, you need to understand the use of zoom in and out. I'm using the wheel of the mouse now to zoom in and out. If I right click, that calls up a series of options, and a number of them to do with zoom extents and zoom window and zoom previous. If I use zoom extents, can you see what's happened is that some entity or other has been pushed down the bottom of the screen here. It's an image, in fact, of the site. I don't have that image, and what I'll do is, in fact, delete it, erase it. But if you did have the image, you want the image to register or overlay the design itself. Now I could use zoom window and put a little box around there, and there we're looking at the drawing. Or if I now use, having got rid of the image, zoom extents, even though the image there, we still must have something else down in this zone, and I'm using a crossing window now trying to find it, and I'll hit regen, and I'm hoping that now I can go zoom extents, and that now shows the whole design. So we're in model space, so we should be looking, imagine we're a bird flying over the site and we're looking down directly on it. I'll use the wheel to scroll out just a little. The first step here, because our designer has modeled it and put some plants in, I'll go to layers, and our symbols have a L plant construction layer, and I'm going to click on the light bulb and turn it off. That makes it a little easier for us to work. But remember that everything in computer-aided design is full size, and so we want to take measurements, and these should mean real units to us. So we have a number of tools that we could use. This one up here is a distance tool, and I can measure how far it is from one part of the site to another one side. So I can measure the width of this site. There's obviously a front garden area, but can you see I don't want to position things by eye. gCADPlus gives you the ability to turn on what's called object snap. So it's on, but I want it to pick an endpoint and maybe perpendicular to later on, just to illustrate. So we've got two snaps in order now, and if I reuse that distance command, can you see now, as I move near the end of the line, it being gCADPlus locks in, and then I come across here. So I'm wanting to see a distance that's perpendicular to, or it could be an endpoint like that. And I click, and that tells me, if we look down here, that the site's 127.8 meters wide. This is an area where the designer's working in the metric environment. And what I've done here is I've brought in a symbol from the symbol library. I've gone library details, and I've gone down to scale bars, and I picked one of the scale bars in that area, and there are a lot of them there, 5 or 10 meter, and I've picked a 10 meter. What that means is that if I say distance from, let's say, the end there across to the end there, can you see I get 9999.91. For all intents and purposes, I brought that one in, and it shows correctly. So I either have to accept that this site is, let's do it again, is some 127 meters wide, which it may well be, but if I look at the distance across this path from say there to there, it's 3817, so it's nearly 3.2 meters wide. That's a very wide path. And as I get in here and I look, can you see that the design has been drawn with things hanging in midair? That means our designer's not using these snaps. Let's illustrate, we could pick that line there, and this is called a handle here. We could make it hot, click on it, and we could move that perpendicular to there. So now we've got some precision in the drawing. So it's a path leading from the footpath in the front garden. It's leading to probably a paved area there, and it's currently 3.8 meters wide. Now I think that this is scaled incorrectly, and the reason I say that is when you bring in gCADPlus plant symbols, I'll pick this one. This is a symbol called Small Shrub 02. Can you see it's been scaled at a scale of 4? Now we draw those up originally such that if we insert them in a scale of 1, it comes in a meter wide. So I think there's been a lot of scaling and in-error scaling going on, and we would need to find some measurement in this drawing that gives us a real true value. So I'd expect that you would go back to the site and measure, say this is going to be a new carport, measure the distance from here to here. Now remember, a double car carport is about 6 meters wide. This is 25 meters wide, and notice that everything was scaled by 4. If we divided that by 4, scale the whole thing down by 4, we would actually have a design that means a little more. Now, I'm going to experiment with that now, but I'm guessing, I need to go back to the site and check my measurements. So I'm going to select everything above that scale, and I'm going to say scale it at that point there, and we want to scale it 0.25, 1/4. .25 and hit enter. There. We can move our scale back and zoom extents here. Zoom in on this area here. And now let's just guess now the future carport. The distance from there to there is 6.3 or 6.27, which is a much more reasonable size. If we go to our library and details and bring in our vehicles, something that gives you a good sense of scale. This is a sort of a standard SUV, and we can open that and insert that into the drawing, and in it comes. So let's pop it in there, and then we'll copy it and move it from there and put another one there. We could even move that one up. So you can see now I'm getting a much better internal sense of scale. So you really want to be working in this model space area until you want to present the whole design. What I'm going to do now is just scale all of these and bring them down by 0.25, the same factor, and then I'll move them up into position like so. Now we've been asked by the designer, who's just a newbie with gCADPlus, how do I take my design, which I'm relatively happy with, and I want to present it on, let's say, an A2 sheet. Well, you go to Format and Layouts. So I'm going to make a new one and pick the size. We'll have it in landscape, and they've asked for a demonstration of how we do an A2 sheet in landscape, and OK. Now a new tab says Layout, and let's zoom extend. So our design was being done with a dark background. Now we're looking at what the sheet might look like on an A2 piece of paper. And if I pick the frame, you can see it has a view scale of 97. So if you wanted this an accurate scale of 1 to 100, you just do that. So I hope that's just a little introduction to someone who's a newbie, a brand new designer with gCADPlus and wondering how things go. So the take-home lessons are: use osnap all the time, do the majority of your drawing in model space, put everything on layer 0 and worry about layers later, and be confident moving in and out. And you have to imagine that now I'm looking at the site and I can start cleaning the drawing up, trimming and extending. See, that line needs to be extended and that one can be trimmed off. There are various ways to do that. Hopefully that will help our budding drafter.